Well, Richie here, my fellow Drifty Maniacs, and welcome back to the channel. I would say if you love the WLTOYS 144001, then I hope you've enjoyed the videos I've been shooting over the past couple of days featuring my brushless conversion of the 124019. That is one of the new kids on the block from WLTOYS. In today's video, I'm going to be comparing this with the 124018 Desert Buggy. I'm going to get them side by side on the bench, show the similarities between these two cars and the differences, and explain where they're easy to work on, where they're tricky to work on. I'm also going to explain why the WLTOYS 124018 handles quite differently from the 124019, and more to the point, why the 124019 is going to be the better choice for a speedrun car, but this one maybe a better basher. And in today's video, whilst I'm comparing them side by side on the bench, I am going to be having a full-on test with both of these cars just running on the stock 2S LiPo, and my idea is to go out with my friend John from Fog City RC and maybe put these cars head to head around a slalom test where we time them around a slalom, put the GPS on them to see which one is the faster out of the two, stock out of the box, etc, etc. But I think that runtime test of both cars side by side deserves its own video. Anyway, let me get that camera down and put these two side by side on the bench. And as ever, if you like what you see today, then don't forget to subscribe. Well, in the middle here, we have the stock cars, the WLTOYS 124018 on the left and the 124019 on the right. Next to each of them is the brushless conversions. You will note the brushless one on the left is running on foam tyres. Yes, they're a much smaller diameter than the stock ones on here, but these won't balloon, so they're going to give you control at speed. These are very good even on 3S, but they do balloon. It does mean they're going to make for a little more interesting handling if you are going flat out with this car, whereas with the foams on blacktop, the handling is going to be superb. Now both of these cars are stock use this radio, which is fairly basic, but it's got a fairly sturdy feel to it, and you can fit a lanyard around the top of it on there. We have got, however, throttle dual rate, which can dramatically increase the speed of either one of these cars when you turn it up, and we've got steering trim on there, which I found so far to be all you need for either of these two cars. I would say both of these cars are absolutely box stock, but if we get down up close and personal and we look, the 124018 on the left is actually sitting lower than the 124019, the buggy version, on the right. And I'm thinking that's because this weighs less. How much less? Well, let's zeroed my scales. Let's find out how much the 124018 weighs. And the answer is £2 12 ounces, including the battery. So how much is the 124019? £2 6 ounces, including the battery. So we have got a marginally lighter car on here. You're going to be able to shave a little bit of weight off the 124019 if you take this rear wheel off. Well, that weight difference actually means this weighs 14% less than this does. And that should show itself up in the handling of this car, which should accelerate faster and potentially get to a higher top speed, particularly given the fact that this bodywork is nice and streamlined, as opposed to this, which is not exactly aerodynamic, with this upright part on the front bumper on here, and all of this cage, wheel at the back, etc. That's all adding a lot of drag to this car, although I have had this up to 43 miles an hour on a 3S LiPo. And speaking of that 3S LiPo, this car's come in for some questioning as to whether it will take a 3S LiPo. I've not had any issues with it, but I do acknowledge there are quite a few people out there that have had issues with it. So I will say, maybe try it, but err on the side of caution. Now these cars are quite similar to the 144001. In fact, they share a lot of the suspension and the drivetrain parts. The key differences being this is 5 centimeters longer, as is this one, than the 144001. What does that mean? Well, I'll show you the inside of the car and you will see what a huge benefit that is in just a second. As I say, a lot of the suspension parts are the same. The one thing is different is the drive shaft, which is longer, the bodies, obviously, but the power plant in terms of electrics, ESC, radio, etc. is pretty much the same on these cars as the 144001, which has been out for a little while now, so spares for these cars should be fairly easy to come by, provided you don't go bending that drive shaft. And the other blindingly obvious thing that is going to be different is the metal chassis, which, as I say, is 5 centimeters longer than the 144001. So we've got a lot of commonality between these cars and the existing 144001. Now, while I say they're similar but not exactly the same, at the front the suspension is pretty much identical in terms of the A-arm. We've got the 019 on the right, the 018 on the left here. However, at the rear you will notice the suspension arms for this are different to, but the rear, you will see the suspension arms for the 124018 are different from those to the 124019. Why is that, Richie? Well, that would be down to the rear shock absorber position on there. On the buggy version, the 124019, it's pretty much sitting straight upright, as is the metal shock tower plate on here. On the 124018, the Desert buggy version, look how much further forwards that shock is leaning on there. There is no metal shock tower as such on there. This shock, in actual fact, attaches to that roll cage frame on there. So you're not going to be able to play around with the body on this if you get this car to any great extent, purely because of where that shock absorber attaches to the chassis.
The back, it attaches to the front of the rear A-arm.
Whereas on the buggy version, it attaches to the rear of the A-arm. And believe me, when you're driving them, that shock position does make an awful lot of difference in terms of the handling. This feels far more basher-like. This feels far more road-focused, although I am going to take this down shell sands and run it on the loose dirt, as I think it will be an absolute blast given the power-to-weight ratio of the thing. Both cars have fully adjustable track rods, both at the front and the rear on here, as they do metal threaded shocks all round on both of the cars. In terms of the front suspension setup, like I say, the A-arms at the front appear to be pretty much similar. I am guessing under there we have the same metal shock tower mount on there as we do on here, but it's that difference on the alignment at the rear that is going to make a huge difference to the way the cars handle. Tire tread on both cars is the same. Well, visually, obviously they've got very different bodies on. This is held on simply by two body clips, one at the front, one at the back. To get access to the inside of the car, you remove two little body clips from here, and then this pivots back. Note the little light bar on here. This car doesn't have a light bar, and we've got the scale set up on there. That is your access to the inside of the car. If you want to go brushless to this, you're going to have to remove all of this body, which is held on by 6 screws underneath. But I've done a video on that. Should anybody be interested, if they want to do the same, you can still squeeze everything in there when you go brushless fairly easily. However, if you're serious about going brushless with the car, you probably want to get the 124019. Everything is much, much easier to access in here. It's a lot easier to work on than this. If you want to do major work to this in terms of any speed conversion, you're going to have to remove all that bodywork. Likewise, any problem with the car, anything goes wrong with the electrics, you've got to remove all that lot pretty much to get at anything. Both cars come with the stock 2S LiPo 2200 milliamp pack, which is good for around 20 minutes of flat out running time, which is absolutely outstanding. But then bear in mind this thing only weighs around about 2 pounds. Oh, and I should have said at the start, obviously, both cars have got full-time 4-wheel drive, front and rear diffs, no centre differential in there, 550 can motor, combined ESC and receiver on both cars. We have this micro-sized servo on here, which you will need to replace if you fit a brushless setup, because it's a 5-wire servo, and obviously any receiver you're going to fit to the car is going to need a 3-wire servo in there. So it's something to take into consideration. And if you go brushless with either of these cars like I've done, I would suggest buying a complete new motor mount. Don't even try and remove the motor from this motor mount. It's just too much hassle. Bit of heat on these 2 screws underneath to release the thread lock, and then just take that whole motor assembly off of there. Well, they're both great cars to drive. You get an awful lot for your money, to my mind, particularly this with that little headlight bar on there and that nice desert buggy look. The cage on top of that will take a big whack, a tumble over without any problem at all. They're both pretty quick out of the box, even on 2S. The stock tyres give it a pretty good grip on a multitude of different surfaces, and the cars are big enough so they're both going to fly over grass without any problem at all. In terms of the handling, this is more tail happy. Whether that's because of that more weight at the back on there, where you think it actually adds to the grip. In terms of acceleration, which one is the faster? Well, that's something I hope to cover when Fog City and me test these cars head to head. We'll do a drag race, best of 3, with the stock batteries in, and see who wins. Speaking of which, have your guess right now. Which do you think is going to win that test? And they're both relatively easy to convert to brushless, although the 124019 far easier, as you don't have to remove all that bodywork, which can be very handy if you need to make any adjustments to your setup on there. In terms of the handling, whilst this one is actually lower, as you saw at the start there, stuck out the box, if you put a couple of droop screws in the front suspension on here, which the holes are already there for, and if you see my brushless conversion running in yesterday's video, you will notice that it's lowered down like this without any adjustment to the spring rates on there at all. Well, I hope you liked that side-by-side preview of both of these cars, the 124018 Desert Buggy and the 124019, which is also classed as a buggy, but to my mind is maybe more road-focused, but as you've seen, there's a lot of similarities between the cars. This one, to my mind, feels more of a basher and less of a speedrun car than this one does. In yesterday's video, I pushed this up to 99 miles an hour and it had not peaked out. This car has got 100 in it just on stock gearing with the brushless conversion I've done to it. There's a video coming up of this car running again in anger very shortly, so if you don't want to miss that, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Well, thumbs up if you like this video, guys. Post any comments you might have in the comment section below the video and hit the circle below to subscribe. And if you do hit the circle, don't forget to hit the bell.